I'm not saying I'm the God, but I am a God.
Today's guest is Jabril Muhammad. You may know him better as 19 Keys. He's a thought leader, an entrepreneur, and right now he is blowing up everywhere. I'm talking millions and millions of views on YouTube, speaking on stages around the country. But let me tell you, it did not start like this.
When you out in the streets and you doing something wild, I don't think people understand the adrenaline that comes from that. It's almost like a drug where you go on a mission and it can be life or death. Anything can happen and you just out there fearless. Still, you start to feel invincible.
And at 19 years old, his life in the streets finally caught up with him. Keys got locked up and was facing 7 years in prison.
When the jury came back, my heart was beat. It was thick in the air. And he asked the jury, have you come to a verdict? And the jury said yes. Judge opens up the letter, reads it. When it comes to Jabril Muhammad, jury finds him.
So in this episode, I wanted to get to the real 19 Keys. His story. How did he become the person that you see on stages, that you see on your screen, who has this huge platform? And most importantly, how did he overcome his environment to reach a higher level of consciousness? And it's not just that. He explains how you can reach the highest version of yourself. You spoke about leaving 100% out there, reaching your 100%.
100%.
What was that step one? What was that process?
The first step, right, is...
Okay, so 6 months ago, I shared on this channel that I had this crazy goal of hitting 100,000 subscribers. Well, it's not as crazy as I thought. At the time when I said that, we had 3,000 subscribers, and we're so close right now to hitting 100,000. So please help us out with this goal, this crazy dream that I had. Hit that subscribe button. When I was reading and I was listening to interviews, it kind of came across very strongly. 2 really strong influences in your life, especially early. One being your older brother, the other being your father.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about almost this lack of awareness of like our ancestry, where we came from, our bloodline, I'm curious, like, what were some of those lessons at an early point? Like, what was it that they were teaching you?
How to be a soldier. Yeah, man, how to be a warrior. Mostly what's missing today. What offends people the most about being a man? You know, I grew up in a man's man environment where we say things and you ain't supposed to get your feelings hurt about it. You know, you just come back with something, right? And you roll it off the shoulder and you process it and you keep dealing with life. You know what I mean? You get scraped, you get back up and you keep moving. Most of what I learned from my father was through demonstration, right? I seen how he moved. I seen how other men respected him. Right? I knew the lengths that he was willing to go to protect himself and his family, right? The level of violence that he was capable of, right? Every man has to be capable of a level of violence and have a level of darkness within them that they control and that they can wield at any time, right? Because I learned from them that a man has to be 3 things. He got to be respected, loved, or feared, right? And for different people, you might want to respect you. Some people want to love you. Some people you want to fear you, right? That's how we go about obtaining power. So my father taught me I was a God. He taught me how to move, right? How to move militantly, how to make sure that as I'm moving throughout the streets, he'd tell me, man, make sure you're moving as a FOI. You know what I'm saying? If without having to say too much, he said, you know, just keep a lie out front. You know, you'll be all right. But I know what that means. Right? So by having that foundation and you being able to just say those key words that just realign me, like, you right. Let me make sure I'm moving how I'm supposed to move. And then my older brother, he showed me the streets. You feel me? Coming from an environment where it's like streets and consciousness. You know, that was my duality. Growing up in Oakland and St. Louis, right? My brother, he was a Muslim, but he was definitely in the streets. He locked up in prison right now. Right, so he been going in and out his whole life, but he also showed me the good, the bad, and the ugly, to where when I looked at him, I seen what I wanted to be and what I didn't want to be at the same time. So, you know, we got a thing about settling on the best part, where I can't take everything from you, but I'm gonna take the best parts from you, right? And my older brother taught me how to fight. He taught me how to speak to women. He taught me how to move with other men, how to move with killers in the room. Right? He taught me, you know, essentially those protocol and tenets of how to be a man and, you know, how to mob, how to go on missions. You know, he'd be that person that always challenged my fears and tell me to tap into that courage. And sometimes he'd try to get me to do things that I shouldn't be doing. And then when I was old enough to think for myself, I decided that, nah, I'm no longer doing that. I'm going my own route,
Mm.
right? And that's been beneficial to me, right? And that's when I really became a man.
Yeah. You said 3 tenets of being a man: respected, loved, or feared.
But those are aspects of, how those are aspects. If you're not, most people operate trying to figure out how they can be loved the most, right? And some men operate through fear, right? You look at somebody like a 50 Cent, he want people to fear him. I love him, right? And Mike Tyson, he want to be feared, right? But at the same time, respected. This generation lacks that willfulness and that want to be respected. They just want to get some money. You know what I'm saying? But a man wields power through fear, love, and respect. You feel me? And so, at the highest level, a man gonna have all three.
That's really what we're going towards. You know what I'm curious about? Because I know for my dad and also my older brother, I think one of the best things that they do for me is accountability. Holding me accountable.
Yeah.
So important, especially when you're young, because you make missteps, you go in the wrong direction. And so I'm curious, is there a story, is there an experience from early in your life where it was like you were going in the wrong direction and either your older brother or your father had to like pull you over here real quick? Like,
no. I just kept going in that wrong direction. I think I always course corrected myself. Because, they had already, I feel like Pops and Adrian, right, was always going to do worse than I was going to do, and they let me make my own mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So I caught cases, you feel me? I got into trouble, but I'm a person that grows from every experience. So it's not going to be too much need because I'm super logical, right? So I'm not going to be doing something that don't make sense. He just going to give me the game like, all right, if you're going in that direction, this is how you move. And then once you learn whether that direction and that destination is good or not, you better course correct. But I've never been that type of person you got to constantly come to and be like, don't do this, don't do that, because I'm not stupid. You feel me? So I've always had to be the one that course corrected myself. Of course, my mother, if anybody, would be the one that'd tell me what not to do and do. You feel me? But because I spent more time being raised by her than my father, because my father would be absent a lot of time, but the demonstration I got from my father is what I remember. But the knowledge, a lot of that came from my mother as far as her actually being there. Boy, what you doing out in the streets? We mobbing, we tripping, we coming in late at night, we drunk, we high, it's cops knocking at the door. It's all kind of different things. So that was mom that'd be like, all right, watch out for them ones. Them ain't your friends. You feel me? So she was always that person that was, telling me the right from wrongs. But, I still made, my mistakes. And I still course corrected myself after I learned the right lessons.
I was another interview I was watching that you did. You said everybody is a slave to something. It might be drugs, it might be entertainment. Something makes you a slave, meaning that you do not have control over yourself. I'm curious, at that point, that early point in your life, what were you a slave to?
That's a great question. Probably my fears. Fear of inadequacy, fear of not living up to, a certain destiny. You're young, or when I was young, I had an idea about who I am, and what I'm going to do in the world, right? I just remember being young and this voice come to me and tell me that I'm going to change the world. As vivid, as your voice is. It's inside my head. And I get a vision, just seeing myself great in some capacity. And this is why, like, a regular career just never stood out to me. Being a lawyer, being a, doctor or whatever, it just never stood out to me as the path that I was supposed to take to change the world. And when I was younger, working a job, I remember almost getting depressed because it was like, this can't be the route of, totality. This can't be my 100%. You feel me? Like times where I ain't have a job, ain't have a car, right? Sometimes sleeping in the car and, being at my pop spot where he got another woman and it's really her spot. And I'm like, nah, man, this ain't me. You feel me? Like, I'm a whole God out here. So that makes you go to a dark place a little bit, smoking, drinking, moving about, doing whatever you do. You feel me? And at that point in time, you would do anything to, get out your situation. So I think that if there was a slave to anything, because I had never been like addicted to nothing per se, you feel me? But it's just the fears of inadequacy.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a big thing because when you have that vision and you have an awareness of what your
Yeah,
potential could be, but you're not living it right now.
yeah,
It's like that
yeah.
that difference, that contrast is difficult to manage.
And it's really, just getting back in alignment with self. Like if you feel like that, it's because, what you're currently doing is not aligned with who you really are.
Mm,
Right? And so it could be like, are you even learning? Are you even developing? Right? Are you even putting yourself in that environment? And when you know that you're not even in alignment with that, then you feel guilty. Right? And then that guilt can go to shame, and shame is the worst feeling. From there, that's the bottom. Because when you feel shame, you feel like it's something wrong with you. Right? And when you feel guilty, you feel like you're doing something wrong. And so you have to ascend that frequency ladder, right? Because you have to get out of that emotion to start feeling joy, to start feeling pride in yourself, right? And the higher you go up, that's when you start living correctly to say, okay, this is where I want to be. Let me maintain this. But I've always been good at facing, my fears and facing the shadows and conquering them,
mm,
right? To this day, I'm not going to deny nothing about myself to myself, right? If that's what it is, all right, we're gonna integrate with that, then we go control it,
mm,
and then we gonna move forward. Because once you acknowledge it, now you have power over it. And the problem is people don't want to acknowledge it, but it's still gonna be controlling you whether you acknowledge it or not. So instead, you might as well integrate, understand it, right? Where did that root it from? Then control it, because now it doesn't have power.
mm. You know what? There's I'm gonna butcher the quote, but there's a quote that like don't be a fool and you're the easiest person to fool.
Mm.
Like we lie to ourselves more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I thought that you said was interesting earlier on? You talked about like this duality
Yeah.
between almost like kind of like a criminality and like the streets,
Mm-hmm.
and then almost this higher consciousness and this discipline and reaching the highest potential. And it was interesting when I was listening to some of your videos, you called it savage keys.
Mm.
That was the savage keys.
Savage
era.
Keys was on his mobbery.
Can you talk about that? Because I think there's a lot of people that would resonate with that, where like they kind of come from this environment where there's a certain influence, but then they also have kind of this larger vision for what their life is, and they kind of swing this way and then they swing that way, especially when they're younger. Tell me about the Savage Keys era. Quick break. This episode is not sponsored by Huel. One day I hope it will be, and here is why. So my story with Huel is an interesting one. I've been drinking Huel since I was 17 years old, living in London. It tasted great. I loved the taste. It was high in protein and it was plant-based. I'm lactose intolerant, so that was important for me. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I was recording in London. It was the first time I've been back in the UK for a few years. And when I walked into my local Sainsbury's, I saw this on the shelf, Huel Black. And so while I was there, I developed this routine where on every recording day, I would stop at that exact Sainsbury's and I would pick up one of these Huel drinks. And then I'd go to the studio to record. And so a little behind the scenes secret is that some of my favorite episodes from that trip, like the one we did with Robbie Lyle or the one we did with Gary Stevenson, I was drinking Huel just before we hit record, and I felt great. Each bottle has 35 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber, and 27 essential vitamins and minerals, and it is 100% plant-based, which I love. And so I'm going to leave a link in the description. Like I said, Huel is not sponsoring this episode, but I have a challenge for you guys, the audience. Comment Huel in the comment section of this video, and hopefully we can make something happen. Thank you, and back to the show.
Man, Savage Keys, Savage Keys. It's just speaking on, growing up in Oakland and St. Louis when we was in the streets, just being dumb, being stupid. I always let my brother Steve tell the story more when we have our man-to-man show. Because I don't want it to feel like I'm bragging about the past and none of the stupid shit that we used to do back in the day. But you know, it is when you think about being young, dumb, drunk, high, just mobbing, got an attitude, you feel me, against the world, things ain't going your way. You know, you get in fights, you get in shootouts, you feel me? You go do some things. You feel me? You go catch some cases, you go be around the wrong people, you go treat people a certain way. You gonna live a very risky lifestyle. You
Mm.
feel me? As if you're trying to get to fast death and you're trying to get you some fast money. And we was into all of that. So for me, Savage Keys was just somebody who was smart, but he didn't know what he didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And his environment, you know, had influence on him, a lot of influence. So it didn't matter how smart you was because you wasn't around an environment that was nurturing your true nature and who you really are as a God.
Mm.
But I had to go through all of that. You feel me? Because now I can relate to somebody that's in the street. I can relate to somebody that don't have a key in their life or somebody that can help guide them in the right direction, or they don't have, you know, that ethic of learning to where they can develop their own mind and get themselves out of it. Everybody don't have them different archetypes in them that they can feed. You feel me? To where I gotta have my warrior. You feel me? I got my creative side. I got my spiritual side. All of those need to be fed at all different times.
Mm.
You know, but to be honest, that era was one of the best eras because it showed me what I was capable of.
Mm.
You know, when you out in the streets and you doing something wild, I don't think people understand the adrenaline that comes from that. Right? It's almost like a drug. You feel me? Where you go on a mission and it can be life or death. You feel me? You could be locked up, you can get caught, anything can happen, and you just out there fearless, still, heart beating, pumping, then you do it and get away with it. Oh man, you start to feel invincible.
Mm.
And so it's different though, where that's the wild side. But when you start to civilize yourself and you want to put order and structure, that's harder. You feel me? That's way harder. And it's harder for a different reason because you got to use your mind and now it's just a battle with you.
Mm.
Right? It's a battle with yourself. Now you go structure and order these things, you go learn. Right? Now you want to build something because first law of the universe, that's motion. Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us. Second law is order. The streets got motion. Right? You in movement. You out there, you wild, you got energy, but now it's time to structure that. Right? That's order. And everybody don't have order. And you know, speaking to my brother Nuri Muhammad, he has a book called The Mathematical Mind, and he speaks about when you live a clean life, you have an harmonious environment and a harmonious life, and things start to become more ordered. And in the hoods, it's not clean. It's a dirty life. You getting your hands dirty, right? You sinning. You doing things that's off target from who you really are,
Mm.
right? And so you're going against yourself and you feel guilty and you got a self-accusing spirit that's always beating you up every day. And you try to drown it out. I need the liquor. I need to smoke. I need to be in a social environment where I'm kicking it with people. I do not want to be dealing with this demon talking to me, right? Or the God in me talking to me. Because sometimes people think it's a demon and it's really God telling you, bro, you tripping. Bro, you wilding. Why did you do that? You know what I'm saying? What's wrong with you? And now you playing this over and over and over in your head, and it becomes a cycle and it leads to a depression because you stuck on that same emotion. And it's not until you get motion in the right direction and start developing order and start to change your needs. So we got needs that we have. And when you grow up in an environment where you had insecurities, right? You ain't get enough love, what you gonna need? You're gonna need some love. You're gonna need some significance. You wanna feel like somebody. When you didn't have proper connections, right, in your life, proper relationships, you wanna feel connected when people didn't acknowledge your efforts, right? You wanna feel like you're contributing to something, right? When you got a broken family, you're gonna want a community. These are needs that we have. And when you grow up in these environments, it rearranges your needs in the wrong order, right? Because we really should be focusing on growth. Every man should be focused on growth and challenging himself, right? Putting himself through adversity, right? On purpose to see what he's made of and what he's capable of. On purpose. That's the warrior spirit. I'm challenging things. I'm revolting against things. That's the power of how you get to know yourself. But when you grow up in these environments, no, I need to be significant because people treated me like I was nothing.
Mm.
So now you're doing things for the wrong reasons because you're starting off with a deficit, right? So when you come from an environment of love, you have wealth because your needs are fulfilled. But when you come from an impoverished environment, your needs are not fulfilled. So now this one becomes more important than it should be. right? But when you come from a proper environment, a proper love, structure, order, community, right? People acknowledge what your efforts are and your contributions. Now they're arranged properly. All right, let me focus on growth. Let me get my knowledge and my skills up. So therefore, right, I can now make the contributions. Therefore, I can build the connections, and that's going to make me feel significant. You see? So now it goes through this chain, right? And successful people have a pattern of habits. And when you learn how to properly fulfill and reorder your needs, then you restructure your life with the proper order to start building success and start building wealth and start building power. So we got brothers out here be fighting each other on platforms. You know what I mean? Going at each other. Why? Because you didn't get the proper love in the household. You didn't get the proper significance in the household. Nobody told you, right, about your efforts when you was young and that you were contributing to something. So now you need that more than ever. It's like, no, bro, man, let's grow and take over the world. What we fighting each other for? We got bigger enemies outside. So when I see men, right, and I audit myself, I say, okay, I see what you need the most. That's why you are moving the way that you move, right? Because before you even get to the growth, before we think about, the community growth, we thinking about our significance first, right? We thinking about, I need love the most. You know what I'm saying? Because it's missing in you. So for me, growing up as a savage, it was just because my needs weren't correctly ordered, right? And when I didn't need that anymore, I can, get back to God body keys, turn it into 19 keys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mention a lot, and I love it, is the knowledge of self.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you were speaking, it hit me, which is like, we have so much like trauma. We have so much, so many things that have happened to us, and we're not even aware of it. We're aware that it might have happened. We're not aware of its effects. We don't see the link between, wait, why did I lash out at that situation? Or why did I start drinking more that month? We don't see all of the signs and how things link together. And because it's so unassuming, because we don't have the true awareness of it, it's even more dangerous. It's like it's the most dangerous because we can't even see it. It's just in the mind. It's like in the recesses of your mind. And so at an early age, and it kind of comes through when I listen to you speak, and you even said it, this ability to self-audit.
Yeah.
Very unique. Most people can't do that, right? Even you'll see people that are 70, 80 years old don't have that ability to self-audit.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, when you're in this savage keys era and things are kind of you're not acting in alignment with that God. I'm curious, like, is there an experience, a story where it kind of just hit you like, this isn't the right path that I'm on? Like that process where you self-audit, like, I need to kick that into overdrive right now because this isn't it right now, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What gave you that?
Going to court for a case, assault case. And I remember I was locked up. I think I was in Iowa or something like that. And I started reading this fiction book. It was a storybook. And it was a dope story. Characters, they coming alive in my head. It was about, I think, a bank robbery or something. It was this dope plot. And I remember just, doing some of my time in there. Not that I was doing a lot of time, but I was in there for like a month or so. And I remember reading through that whole book. And when I closed the last chapter, and I got out of that world from distracting myself, I realized I was no closer to being free. I ain't gained nothing. I ain't learned nothing, right? I have no more all I did was distract myself the whole time. So I remember being extradited between Iowa to California. And, they even had me in a wheelchair, you feel me, pushing me through the Chicago airport. And I remember being on a plane, and there was this little white kid that was looking at me because when they transporting you, you go to the back of the plane, right? And this white kid was looking at me. He was looking back because everybody was looking at me because I'm a prisoner on the plane. And I remember looking forward on my peripherals, and I just hit him with one of them real quick. He jumped. Just trying to find some humor in the situation. And I remember I got back to Oakland, and I got bailed out. And having to fight the case, being free. My brother, he was fighting this case from inside. But he started giving me some books. He was suggesting books that I should read. And these books were books about critical thinking, right? These books was Socrates books. These books was like strategy books, books that can get my mind in the game, right? And the game was life. And this game particularly was about this court case, right? And whether we was gonna win or lose, because my life was on the line. So, I had to learn the psychology, right, of this environment, and I had to learn knowledge that was applicable to the war that I was fighting at that moment, right? So we had to pick the jury, right? You go to voir dire, I believe it's called, where you do your jury selection, right? And you got to go. We have a whole team process to figure out psychologically if this jury gonna be good or this one gonna be good, and the whys and understand it. Then I had to even start studying some of the law, right? To where I had a lawyer who was this big, fat, fumbling guy. He looked like the dude off Flintstones. And I remember he had told me that, he ain't really win no cases. So I was not about to put my life in his hands. So I'm telling him what to do. I'm like, man, foul this motion. You feel me? And he like, I don't know about this, but I'm like, I ain't ask you what you know. I'm like, you my lawyer, right? Can you do it? And he like, yeah, I'll do it. And he filed it. And I remember the judge allowing it through, and it helped the case. Then I was like, okay, yeah, that lets me know I have to be in control of this. But everything mattered in that moment. How you act, how you walked in there, right? What you smiled at, what you laughed at, people are watching you. So I had to use all the knowledge that I was learning in that environment that whole entire time, and then it came down to the verdict. And, you go against a so-called jury of your peers, which is not really true, right? They wasn't my peers. This was just a jury of citizens of America, right? But we come from different ethnic backgrounds. If you don't come from the same ethnic background as me, you're not my peer, right? Because you don't have the same context of understanding reality and what we go through and who we are, right? Black men have some of the worst statistics on the planet Earth, right? 80% of people they have plead out on the case, not because they're guilty, they lack proper representation, knowledge, and support, right? And finances. So when I think about all of that, I'm like, nah, man, as a man in America, man, you have to take your fate in your own hands. So when the jury came back, my heart was beating. It was thick in the air. And, he asked the jury, have you come to a verdict? And the jury said yes. And I think it was maybe after maybe a day of deliberation. I'm trying to remember. But your heart beats throughout that whole thing because, you just waiting for one word or two words. Right? Guilty or not guilty. So I don't know which one it's going to be. Judge opens up the letter. He reads it. When it comes to Jabril Muhammad, jury finds him not guilty. And I'm like, oh, I could breathe again. I smile again. It starts shining outside. I heard some birds chirping. I think I heard Erykah Badu in the background singing or something. It was a vibe. You feel me? I said, okay, y'all rock with me, huh? Y'all rock with me. I see y'all. I ain't like y'all at first. And after going through that situation, I decided to, never indulge or read another book that didn't have anything to do with my freedom and the development of my skills and my power to control my reality. And I think that was a huge shift in my life, that really pressed upon me. I'm 19 years old. I believe it was February 22nd. That was the day. So it was a day of divine alignment, and I believe that day really set me on my journey, to just develop and learn more and figure out, all right, what else can my mind do? If I got me out this situation and I said I'm a God and I told myself that a God got to be able to do this, right? And I did it. So now that's confirmation. All right, I am correct about who I am, right? So now, all right, Allah gave you a second chance. What you gonna do with it, right? And I believe that, from that moment on, I've been using that second chance.
You know what's interesting? I think I just think language is so important. And so even when you're speaking, I'm listening. And one of the things you said early in the court case, it was like your life was on the line.
Mm-hmm.
You also spoke about it being like a war. And the language is interesting to me, like those words, using those words. And it feels, to be honest, even when you're reflecting on it now, I can feel the significance of that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like really when we talk about context, like the context, understanding someone's life, it feels like that moment set you up for where you are now. And so I'm curious, like, if you were just to go deeper into that, like, why was that so important? Why did it feel like your life was on the line in that moment?
Well, because, you know, when you spend years in jail, and that's what we was facing with years in jail, you don't know who you become after those kind of experiences. You know, everything that I would have done. So let's say I went in there. Maybe I was facing. I think we ended up getting the charges down, maybe 7 years. Right? Probably would have got out on good behavior or something. But all of those things that I did, right, in between those, let's say I spent 3 years in there, 3, 4, or whatever, right? All of that time that I was spending outside learning, developing, educating myself, moving, making connections, none of that would have been done. My journey would have been completely derailed, and that would have been a different reality. I watched this show. It's called Dark Matter, and it speaks upon superposition. And superposition is, you know, in quantum physics, you know, how two atoms are entangled at different points in time. And this particular theory was about how we have multidimensional selves. And every decision that you make, every choice that you make splits off into another universe, right? So there's a universe where that 19 Keys got a verdict of guilty, right? And that's a completely different life that he's living. Not sure where it ended up, right? There's a universe where 19 Keys died in a shootout. You know what I'm saying? There's a universe where 19 Keys didn't drop out of school and he finished college, right? There's all these different universes and different splits. So I think about, I think about my journey and I think about my universe that I'm living based on the decisions that I've made, right? And I believe life comes down to a choice. You have to choose to be great. That's it. And once you make that choice, you don't go back, and everything else has to now be in alignment with this choice that you make. I've been around family members that I wanted them to be the leader. I didn't think I was going to be the one. They were supposed to be the leader. Me and my older brother, we had talked about power and fame. He supposed to have the power, he handled that, and I had a fame side, right? But then I tell him, like, nah, I want the power side. But I remember, you know, he went viral from slapping the hell out this white man once. They came in his yard. It was on World Star. It went crazy and everything. And he started to go viral, and all these people were following him. And I remember he told me, he said, I don't want to be their leader. You know, his mind was just in the streets more. And I remember at that time thinking like, damn, it let me down. You know, because for me, he was the one that was supposed to utilize his mouthpiece and lead the people because he just was so strong and so smart. And, you know, I just realized that it's different choices that people made. He said that out loud and he made that choice. And from that choice, his life went in that path. And I remember my father told me something once before. He said, you know, if you want something, you have to say it out loud to the universe, right? So hearing him saying, I don't want to be a leader, and I'm trying to convince him and he's sticking to that. And I'm like, damn, well, if he don't want to do it, then I got to do it. You feel me? And I remember saying it out loud. I'm a leader. Like I'm talking to myself and saying it. And that was me basically like signing on the dotted line. I accept this mission. You feel me? So it'd be moments like that in my life that's private to me that'd be more important than going through a case or any of the other things that I've been through. I've been through a million situations that I can name that you would be like, bro, that's pivotal. That's bigger than this. And it's like, it'd be moments like that that matter to me when I make choices, right? And so everybody doesn't make that choice to themselves. Everybody doesn't choose greatness, right? I chose it. I don't even think I've gotten there yet, but that's my choice. Right? Some people choose to be a doctor, so they'll commit themselves. And that's the thing about choice. It leads you to a commitment, right? What are you committed to? What does your 100% look like? Being in the street, I want my 100%. You know, I sold weed, you know, I sold things. I was good at it. You feel me? But I wasn't about to become Big Meech or nothing. My 100% wasn't there. I was always this same person in the sense of like, I'm always bringing up different conversations, and we always talk about how we gods and, how we dealing in a devil's world and how we got to move differently. I'm always been that person, but I ain't always have a platform to, be a God in the sense to where I can get to my 100%. Right? And we got 100% in everything. I've had, stores in Oakland, California, had a pop-up out there for like a year and a half. I learned a lot from that. I worked at different places to where I put on the corporate hat and I learned how to move in these different environments. I've been in through multiple, militant organizations, seen them rise and fall. I've been through so many different dichotomies of living. If that's the right way to context that. But it's been a very nuanced life, but to me, the most important moments have always been the private moments to where I make a choice and I decide that this is the dimension I'm going to live. Because in that show, there was this infinite hall that they go through, and each door you open is directly connected to your conscious and subconscious mind. So if you think in the wrong thoughts, then you're going to go into a world, right, that is directly correlated with what you was thinking and feeling, right? And a lot of times we think we want to be great, but subconsciously we got insecurities. So we're not producing the greatness, we're producing the insecurities. So they were showing how they was opening the door and he was trying to trick himself to fake like, oh, I'm in a good mood, I'm ready now. Then you open the door and it's still a world of despair, right? And so you have to really be centered in yourself, right? You have to be honest with yourself, and honesty is the place that you start. Right? Because then when you learn the trick, when he was honest with himself, right, then he was able to go into the correct world. Then his decision led him down the right path. And it was just one of those moments where I was honest, like, bro, that ain't what I'm supposed to do. This what I'm supposed to do. And then I got the vision, right? Because I can't move forward till I get a vision. I got to get that spark of inspiration. And I seen the enemies that was going to come. I seen the conversations that I was going to have. I understood I had to do it independent, right? Because there's no world to accept it. They don't want these high-level conversations yet. Nope. Donald Trump gets in office. Oh, they looking for black men. They say it's racism out there. What y'all saying is real. Oh, yeah, we knew that. But you had Obama, so you had hope. So you thought you ain't have to listen, right? So you can drown out what was really going on. Because this is how you felt. You was taking that drug. So now we get back to a place of reality again. America allows people to live in these delusions, right? Oh, everything good. You know what I mean? The economy is up, man. We got the president. It's only gonna get bad if Trump gets in office or something. Bro, it's the same. America is built off guns and violence. It's built off war and slavery. It's built off discrimination. There's opportunity, but amongst all of that, it's not just a land of opportunity. It's all these other things as well. So growing up in America, I've always had a self-awareness that as a black man, as an American man, I could even say, right? You have to understand that the world knows who you are, and they will not respect you unless you know who you are. They love everything that comes from you. They see your magic, and they just trying to understand, why don't y'all manage y'all magic? Why everybody else own y'all magic? They own your media. All media out there is blackface media. You know what I'm saying? Go look at who owns BET. It's a blackface media. Who at the cap table? Who got the prepared shares? Right? Who has the controlling interest? Who writes the stories that then become the attitude that we have towards life? How we see ourselves and how we see each other. It's some white woman writing 50 scripts, handing it over to some black people and telling them to go act this out. Why do they get to determine our reality and how we see things and feel about things? Man, we not free. Like Kwame Ture said, we can't have no peace until we have liberation. I'm not going to tell people to be peaceful. Go to war for your peace. You have to liberate yourself first. There should not be peace in the world, right, unless there's freedom in the world, because that means that you are okay with being a slave. That's what that means. And we definitely 100% shouldn't be warring with each other. No, we got bigger enemies. You go back to the Bacon Revolution, and I ain't talking about the unbigging your back, The big back revolution. Everybody's still eating that bacon out there. You gotta, I got this new saying. You gotta unjiggle your arms. You gotta unslab your abs. You gotta unfry your thighs. You gotta unbig your back. You gotta get back training. You know what I'm saying? Because America is obese and it's the Ozempic Olympics in the streets. You feel me? They taking diabetes drug just to lose weight is so bad in America. Think about that. And we don't, it becomes a normal reality, but people are taking diabetes drugs to lose weight in America because they don't know how to eat right. And that's just normal news to us. And we just go about our day. We live in a very sick, diseased environment where our food is not even real food. And we okay with them manufacturing a reality for us. And we supposed to go smile about our day and just be positive. No, we need more warriors in the world that sees it, that call it out, right? There's people that you may not agree with, that you say, this person is this and that and the third, but hey, they're necessary. They're necessary because if they don't exist, everybody just go along and get along. And we do not need peace where there's no liberty.
You know, one of the things, I think you make a great point, which is like, we're distracted. We're distracted, and the system's actually incredibly effective at keeping us distracted. And I think one of the things you said, which is so powerful, is that you made a choice to be a leader.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's difficult to make choices when you're distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of something, that Kobe Bryant said. I listened to Kobe so much growing up, even to this moment, I listen to him so much. And one of the things he said, like, I made the choice at an early age that I was gonna reach like my full potential in the game of basketball. Like I was gonna leave everything out there. And he said, the key thing that I did is I never negotiated with myself. When I would wake up at 4 a.m., I'm not really feeling it. It's kind of cold outside. It's dark. You know, my friends want me to come out. There's these different temptations. Said, I'm not negotiating with myself. Like, I'm just going to go and do it. And I think to that point, it's like ignoring the distractions. And so, you know what? I want to give the people that are listening, I just want to give them something that's going to be so special to them, which is, I think people will listen to this conversation and they'll resonate with wanting to fulfill their potential. You spoke about leaving 100% out there, reaching your 100%.
100%.
I think there's going to be people that want to do that. And it's almost like the first step in doing that is that self-awareness and removing the distraction. And so I'm curious, when you even reflect on your own story, what was that step one? What was that process of removing the distraction? Because the distraction is everywhere around you. So how did you do that? How did you get started?
I had to move out my hometown. I remember moving from Oakland. Number one, I didn't feel the appreciation, and I felt more hate than love. People that was smiling, I can tell behind their back that was really hating. You know what I'm saying? Because there's people that be trying to keep me away from information, right? They try to keep keys away from connections. People don't be wanting to help me with nothing. They be mad that I got the audacity to show up and be. You know, I feel it and I see it all the time because the logical thing would be to assist, to teach. If I'm doing something wrong, help me course correct. Don't talk shit about it. Like, Keys, do it this way. Oh, I know somebody that can, like, I see what you're doing, but you could be 10X. Do it this way. Like, get on my helmet about that. You feel me? If you're not doing that, I know you really don't want me to know it. And I've known there've been people around me for years that there's certain information they kept away from me because they was like, he gonna be too powerful. And then I realized, like, oh, I see what y'all is. Y'all gatekeeping. Y'all really my enemies, pretending to be friends. And that's that snake shit that I don't like. You know what I mean? So for me, what was the question originally?
Is how do you start to build that momentum, remove the distractions?
So for me, early on, you know, I had to leave that environment that I feel like was toxic, that was poison to me, that was, it wasn't conducive, right, to that growth. I wanted to write a book. I first started, figuring out how the hell can I get this book out. And a book is going to be finished soon. I already have one out called Paradigm Keys, and we got a second to that one. Then I got a few other ones that's about to come out. But it started off for me trying to figure out how to write this book and being in an environment that was distracting. You feel me? It was crazy. I had so many people that was staying with me at the time, and they didn't have no money, and I'm paying rent, and I gotta go hustle and go mob and do all kind of crazy stuff. You feel me? It was sending me down a dark place when really I'm supposed to be focused on this enlightenment because I had just went viral and people reaching out, and I'm like, nah, I'm a type of person that when the fire lit, we gonna keep the fire going. You feel me? I want to understand this moment. When everybody else was looking at it like, bro, you just got 500 followers. No, you don't understand this momentum. You feel me? You don't understand it's a moment that I'm supposed to turn into a movement. Y'all looking at this on the outside, right, as a thing, and you may think I'm being egotistical and saying that, this is more than what it is. It's like, no, this is what I'm about to make it. So I can't afford y'all to be around me as liabilities, taking me away from my abilities. You feel me? My gifts, my talents, my skill, this platform that I'm about to build. So when I had the vision, it's like a woman being pregnant, she can't be around smokers. You feel me? And that's what it was. It was like people blowing smoke at you and they know you pregnant with an idea, right? But they don't even respect it because they don't respect themselves enough to see themselves going that far. So I said, let me move. You feel me? I had to remove myself from the environment completely, right? So environment can be stronger than nature. It could be what's on your mind. It could be what's going on, but then we start mirroring and we start being influenced by the things around us. You tell small mind, big ideas. You feel me? People try to sabotage you literally to the point I remember I was writing a book and the laptop got deliberately erased. Why would you do that? For somebody that hadn't helped you out. You know what I'm saying? So I said, no, I'm not going to let that. I got one of them mindsets that it's a growth mindset. I move forward with everything. It could have been worse. I'm going to take everything as a sign. Allah just want me to go do something bigger than. All right, boom. So I moved, got out that environment, went to another one, right? And then that environment wasn't good enough. Then I went to another one, right? So I had to find a place that was beneficial and conducive to my growth. And I think the first step, right, is changing your environment. You don't want to fight your environment. You want to flow with it. You want to be around people who can help nurture your dreams. You feel me? You want to be around people who will help you grow, help you attract the things that you want, not distract you from the things that you want. You feel me? So for me, I think the foundation starts at environment. Look around your environment. If the people around you, do they represent your goals? Do they? You look in the mirror and you go look at that body and you go see, your little drooping man boobs, you know what I'm saying? Fat, cheesy gut stomach with all the processed food on top of it. You feel me? Shoulders ain't got no definition, nothing to it. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't slap a baby and hurt him. You feel me? Like, how you gonna feel like a man like that? So start in the mirror. You start in the mirror and say, man, physically, I'm not successful. I'm not even successful physically. You know what I'm saying? And you look at that and ask yourself, is that my 100%? Is that my 100%? And you have to say no. That's a moment of honesty. Good for you. Now what's next? All right, well, let's add some points on the board. You can start doing push-ups at that moment. You can start doing squats at that moment. That's the beauty, right? When you start with the physical, you can start now. You can literally just bust some push-ups. You feel me? You be seeing me, I be doing them all around the world. I've been in front of Cairo, to the Eiffel Tower, to the White House, to wherever. I'm doing push-ups wherever because I'm just showing you, man, it starts somewhere. And there's no excuses. So you start with that physical, and when you feeling good about yourself making progress, now, all right, what's next? I'm energized, I'm focused now. What's next? All right, well, what about you financially, man? Financially, you ain't where you want to be. You not. You feel me? What's your 100% look like? Let's be honest. Don't say I'm making $1 million a month. You ain't made 1,000. You ain't made 10,000 a month on your own. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, what am I willing to give in exchange for what I want? Right? Who is the person that I need to be that can do it? Because if you were the person that was good enough to come up with the idea, the vision, but the person you are has the habits that you want, right? So how do I then begin the journey of developing the habits, which then becomes this person, which then gets these results, right? So foundation, let's start with what you don't know. Your knowledge gap is the distance between what you know, right, and where you want to be. So, that's one of my tenets in the high level club. It's like, as a leader, right, you have to be able to audit yourself. You have to know how far you are from where you want to be, right? And then once you do that knowledge gap, okay, this is what I need to learn. And when I learn this what I'm going to do. And I'm going to write it down. I'm going to plan it out, right? Because when you write it down, the problem is halfway solved. That's law. That's the law of written clarity. So I write it down, boom. This is what I need to do. So I know when I'm making progress. So now it's written down. Then you come to a point where I don't know what to do next. What's the next step?
I feel like write it down is important.
When you don't know what you need to do, you need to learn. And it becomes a cycle. Oh, knowledge gap again. I don't know what I need to do. I need to learn. I could talk to somebody. I can read something. I can study something. I can take a course, join a community, whatever it is. It's your personal journey, right? So now I know what I don't need. I know what I don't know. Boom, let me learn that. Once I learn that, I'm going to do again. So learn, then execute. Learn, then execute. Learn, then execute. Learn, then execute. And it just becomes this cycle of growth. And how could you ever stop if your plan every time when you say, I don't know, is to learn? Then you know, then you do. And you just keep growing forever in all categories. What can I do financially? First, educate yourself about finances. Get you some financial literacy, right? You get that, now you got options. Oh, I didn't even understand my options, so you couldn't make the right choices, right? So now you're making the correct decisions based on what you learned and the new options you gave yourself. So now you're creating the correct world for you to live that's in alignment with the vision because you're becoming the person that can do it. Sometimes you have a goal, but you're not the version of you is not the person that can reach that goal. Doesn't have the discipline, right? Doesn't have the mental fortitude, doesn't have the grit, doesn't have the social skills to communicate, to develop the network that you're going to need to get you to the places that you want to be, right? You could be, you too introverted at the moment. So then you realize, well, that ain't something I feel like I can change about my personality. All right, we'll go connect to somebody who is. Let them go handle that. So once you learn your strengths and your weaknesses and you start to develop this file on yourself, right? Now you start to enter the high level club.
You know what's interesting on that point? I even have this, I have it in my notes, and I even said this to Wolf before we started. I said, God's timing is immaculate.
Ooh, that's facts.
God's timing is immaculate. So when you haven't, usually like results are a lagging indicator.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got it yet, it's like you need to be the person first.
Yeah.
People don't think about that. They think about the result. It's like you're not the person yet.
They the personality, not the person. And the person is the habits.
The habits. And the importance of the habits as well, use the word momentum. People don't get that because I think one of the most difficult things to do, momentum works both ways, positive and negative. So a lot of the times it's like we're in like a negative spiral. So the toughest thing to do in that situation is to turn it because momentum is working against you. But it's also the same on the other end. As soon as you start building that momentum, and you spoke about the importance of your body, your appearance.
Yes, sir.
That's building those little steps. A lot of people, they wouldn't see the link between how is going to the gym gonna affect my financial situation, but it's that momentum.
Well, that's where wealth comes from. First is health. When you look at the correlation, people talk about your financial health. You in the positive or negative. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you want to get your, and when you're in profit, they call it being in the black. You want to get your body in the black. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that you are getting gains, is what they call it in the gym. You're having gains. You know what I mean? You're profiting from when you go to the gym because you're making these deposits. You feel me? So when your health is right, you're more focused, you can think, and look at it like this. Like if you was to be able to choose your body, and God was like, all right, what's the best body for the mission that you about to go? Here's your purpose. Right? Choose one of these bodies out here. You're going to want a fit body. You're going to want a body that can run a marathon. You feel me? It's going to be like, this is what you have to do with. You want this body that get tired, that get slow, right? That loses energy, right? Your testosterone not up, right? You know you got these imbalances. No, you're going to choose the best body you possibly can so that becomes a vehicle that you operate throughout life. So I look at it like this, like I look in the mirror, is this the best body I could have chose? So make a choice, all right? that choice come with some pain. It come with some challenge. Man, I'm in the gym. We go to the point that we win. You know, some people call it go to failure. We go to winning, right? So when you go to success and you go to win, the difference is that there's psychological and physiological connections that we can make towards things. And this is why we look at some things with pain association and some things with a rewarding association. Somebody say, bro, you trying to go to the club? Reward association immediately. You know what I'm saying? Bro, I got 10 papers if I need you to read. You feel me? Pain association. I don't feel like doing that, bro. So if you can change the physiological response you have, now you're going to have a drive towards doing that thing. If you be like, yo, bro, there's information here, it's going to make you a millionaire. I promise you. Follow everything step by step. It's only 10 pieces of paper, right? Matter of fact, I'll put a cost in front of that. It's going to cost you. Now you're going to try to get that money, right? Because you know there's something right in this that you can utilize to profit from and benefit from. So that case, you're going to develop the drive. You're going to get the necessary money. You might go get a loan. Your drive will go into hyperdrive because you now have a positive association connected to it physiologically. Your body responds, right? You're not going to shut down. So like when I'm in the gym, I'm getting to that success, not failure. I'm smiling like I'm the Joker. Why? Because I want my body to associate, right, this joy with this pain so that next time my body starts to train and I start feeling those endorphins, oh, you get in there again, you get into that point, you can't go no more. And the way it works in your body is that when you get to that point, you pick up something heavy and you go to that point, you force your muscles to grow because they have to keep up with you now, right? So you're stretching yourself beyond your limits. And you're going through a process of expansion. And people don't stretch themselves enough so they don't force that growth. You'll be in the gym working out for years and you ain't seen no gains. Because your body only adapts to the pressure that you put it into, right? Your mind as well. I'm going to put myself through a challenge and I'm going to force those skills to be developed and I'm going to stretch myself, right? And that's when I feel the most alive. So now I know that I'm growing because at first that was harder. Now I'm begging for this. That's my baseline. Most people don't know what their baseline is. You know what I mean? I want my baseline, right, to be your goal.
You need to be tested.
Hell yeah, and battle ready. Yeah. And your training is what kicks in when you test it. I don't want to be reacting on the spot. No, I've been trained. What you doing? We ready to go. Yeah.
Preparation. You know what? One of the other... I listen to him every day is Nipsey Hussle.
Oh, yeah.
When we talk about a thought leader, I'm like, obviously he was a sensational artist, but as a thought leader, it's something different. And I remember there's an interview, they ask him, they're like, he's talking about the marathon, obviously, you know, like the hard work, just being consistent, being persistent. And they ask him, they're like, did you ever get discouraged? He said, all the time. All the time. He said, he says this verbatim. He says, I never want to give this poise. I never want to give this illusion that I had this ultimate poise.
Yeah.
Said,
my whole thing all figured out. Yeah.
My only distinguishing quality is that I never quit. I just stayed down.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, when you reflect on your story, what were those moments when you felt discouraged? Because yes, and I feel this now with myself, like we have the vision of what we're on, but this shit ain't easy. There's a lot that comes with it. And even as you start to get success and those like pelts on the wall, there's still moments where you feel discouraged, disillusioned, like it's just not working. And so I'm curious for that. Like what comes to mind when I even say that?
It happens. It happens a lot sometimes. I think that's the fight. That's the daily war, right? That you have to win every single day because you're trying to protect yourself. You know, being great is not, you know, what our biology is engineered for, right? We want to protect ourselves. We want to survive, right? So you're looking for threats all the time. Your negative thoughts are supposed to protect you, right? Because that part of our cells had evolved when there was nothing but pending dangers and threats. We in the jungles, we moving across the safari lands and things of that nature. So, well, watch out for this. What's that in the bushes? Who is that? Oh, watch out for this. And what does it do? What's this plant? Right? These are all your thoughts, right? For human beings today, we are in somewhat of a safer environment, right? Our threats are a little different, but our brains still work that same way, right? So what's it called? The reticular activation system, right? We're always looking for those threats. So, my mind, I'm a super optimistic person. It's very hard to get me to think negative. And sometimes when I am thinking like that, it's a release. You feel me? I need to get past this so I can get back to myself because I don't like thinking negative on things. I like to think it's possible. You feel me? I'm not perfect by no stretch of the imagination, but I'm always striving. And one of my goals is always collaborating and unifying people. But I've had good and bad collaborations, right? Things that I thought this gonna be it. Then niggas be on nigga shit. You know what I'm saying? Then I look at the space and I'm like, bro, I've been doing this for years. It ain't nobody that ever came and decided to offer me some kind of aid. You know what I mean? Everything has been self-funded. I ain't had a single sponsor. I had one partnership I did with Aristotle before. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't never had no big sponsor or nothing. We've been doing all of this. That means so every single black millionaire, billionaire, corporate person, everybody that's watched it, everybody ignored it. They say, oh, I like what you're doing. I'm watching you. I know you watching so you can steal it and take it to your company and try to figure out you can duplicate this, but not so that you can magnify it. You know what I'm saying? So I get discouraged by that because I'm like, bro, I'm just a young black man out here working, you know what I mean, to make an impact. How could you not celebrate that? I wake up every day to figure out how can I learn, right, and how can I impact the world. That should be celebrated. So instead, when I had those moments, I say, be what you don't see. Be what you don't see then. You don't see it, be it then. Because that's where you create value. If it's not in the world, put it in the world. That's your value as an entrepreneur, as a leader, right? As somebody influential, as a brother, whatever it is. If you don't see it, be it, right? Whatever you complain about, be about. So boom, we put people on the platform. They don't have big platforms. Some people don't even have big platforms when we put them on. People didn't know who they was. We ain't just go for the celebrities. No, we thinking about like who would be good people to give platforms to. If the people are asking for them, man, come on. This ain't my place, the people platform. You feel me? I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you taking this platform and taking these opportunities to the sky. You may be looking at me as competition, but I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's different. I'm built different. So for me, that discouragement happens all the time because you would think that we would be in sync and we would understand. I don't want to do no just simple stuff and we just kiki about it, man. Let's go get to some billions. You feel me? Let's build these media companies. Let's go out here and build, this infrastructure and create institutions. Man, you got power. I communicate. You communicate. Let's partner up. That's why I'm doing this high level club where it's like we connecting with the tribes, we connecting with the leaders, we having people build out their brands and their media, and we got the book tribe, and we gonna have the active community. We doing hiking and we doing retreats together because I'm like, man, I'm not about to keep just speaking to the world. I want to speak to just my people. You feel me? And we gonna move like that. So yeah, I get discouraged all the time when I see us going at each other and this lack of communication and appreciation for the time we living in. We smack the shit out of our ancestors when we don't unify. We be disrespecting them. Niggas got the nerve to be quoting Malcolm X, and they won't unify with their brother one day. You say you follow Farrakhan, unify. You follow Elijah Muhammad, unify. You follow Marcus Garvey, unify. You follow Noble Ali, unify. Right? Whatever it is. Whoever is your leader, whoever person that you look at, whether it's W.E.B. Du Bois, a Thurgood Marshall, or Huey P. Newton, right, Kwame Ture, right, whoever it is, unify. Because that's the only thing that we ain't got good at. Man, we great at art. We great at entertainment. We great at distracting ourselves. But who gonna unify? And it ain't saying go connect with the 45 million people here, 10 million people. No. Find people who are like you. Be a spook. You know what I'm saying? Be a spook who sat beside the door. Take your resources and funnel into something that in the future our children can benefit from. The future generation can benefit from. Yeah, I know you got shit to complain about. I know niggas gonna be niggas. People don't want to worry about blah, blah. I get it. How about we start to figure out how they did it? And if we consider them to be savage, we consider them to be crazy. But how was they able to sit down like men at a table, come up with a constitution? sit down as men and come up with treaties. They respected each other. They had to. I respect your mind. Let's sit down and figure out how we're going to rule the world. If we can't do that, then you have to be happy as a slave. Don't talk no revolutionary shit.
You know, one of the things I actually have it in my notes is that the world is gonna like try and force you to conform. You know, like I remember Nipsey even spoke about that. Like he spoke about being a radical. Said I'm a radical. Like we're
Nipsey
some
was a
radicals.
radical, man.
But it's like I think it's always going to be, there's like a pull to conform. And even in small ways, there's always going to be a pull to what you were talking about with survival, like being like everyone else, being like the herd. And, you know, earlier you spoke about being a warrior. I see it as kind of, whenever you kind of step out from the herd and you do something on your own, there's like this journey that you go through where in the beginning, it's like deeply lonely. Because that experience that you spoke about where you have to remove yourself from your environment, that's a key part of the process. You have to isolate yourself so that you can go on this journey, and you put the work in day after day after day on this journey, and you get closer and closer to the final destination. But there's this point that I call it like the dark place. There's this point in the journey where you're not where you started. Sometimes you even look back to where you started, but it's in the distance. You're also not at the destination. You're kind of in the middle. And it's lonely and you're tired. You know, there's a weariness, there's a fatigue. And that point is really where it's made. You talk about testing yourself. That's really where it's made, because you're not in this new group yet. You're not at this destination, but you're not where you started either. You're not where the comfortable place is. And so I'm curious, because there's a reality to life, right? Like, when you speak about not getting support, whether that's financial, whether that's like the expertise, like the game, not getting that support, when all of that just really weighs on you, where does your mind go? Like, where does your mind go where it's like, okay,
I go to the dark place, man. I want to shoot shit. No, just no, you know, we have three different selves that we have to juggle in life: our past self, our present self, and our future self. And I believe it was the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to say, struggle is ordained for the righteous. So if you don't have that, if you have this expectation that everything just go flow your way, you know what I'm saying? That's when you're going to be disappointed. So I just remind myself, bro, be realistic about this shit, man. You know, people are supposed to look at you a certain way. You know, it's not you. It's not They don't know you. They don't know what you do in real life. They don't know who you are. You feel me? They don't know your full story. They don't know your brothers. They don't know the pains that you go through. They just look at and be like, oh, he's successful and he should do this and he got this. And, oh, why is he Muslim? And why is he doing that? And why you wear this? And why are you with this person? They don't know what your intent and all of these different things are. So they go criticize your moves. Some people afraid. There's two sides of Black America. And, you know, the politics, you know, and a lot of the brands, they've historically went to just the safe side, right? And what they're realizing is that safe side don't actually have no influence, not really over the culture, because people ain't listening to them because we know that they sellouts. So there's always gonna come a time where the frustration happens when you're ahead of your time. That's all it is. You're ahead of your time, so you got to remind yourself to be patient, right? We're going through this process. We're going through a process where we got to go through a maturing phase. You know, I look at it like, yeah, people go beef with each other. People go fight. It's going to be jealousy, hatred, all of these different things. That's part of the process of growth. You know what I mean? We children. We never had no money, never had no power. You feel me? Not in the last 400-500 years in America. So in order to get to that place, we got to go through these hiccups. We got to go through these birth pains. You feel me? Like, I understand that I have in my mind what I'm doing, but it's what you're doing and it's how people are perceiving it, right? So your intent is not always matching the perspective that people have, because they can only view it from their lens. People that I could have worked with, instead, they hating. And it's like, why? You could have joined your fan club consists of two sides: people that love you and people that hate you. And people decide to be on the hating side of the fan club. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want fans. I want leaders around me. I want people who, that's why I put out the other day, I say, where my leaders at? Where's people who ready to run different things? You feel me? And I don't want you to work a job, because when you work a job, you only do what you pay for, right? When you a leader, you do it for the vision. You do what you love. You feel me? And you will do way more than what you pay, because you going to see the value in it. Oh, I'm going to learn this, do this. I'm going to study this, examine this, see how I can put this on this, because you putting your life into it. You feel me? Like what I do, I feel like, I put my life on the line for the way I live, but I'm enjoy life. I come from Oakland and St. Louis. I come from environments and not having nothing. I got an older brother in prison, another one in jail. Trying to figure out how to get him out now. I'm trying to see if my older brother get out, he gonna have his mind right. I be dealing with real life stuff, thinking about my actual family. So when people on the other end complaining about stuff, I ain't even hearing you, man. I got immediate things that I actually care about, and your opinion just is not one of them. And you feel me? That shit don't even matter. I'm not really focused on who's not helping, because there are so many people who support it. You know what I'm saying? So I got so many people. When I did a 15-city tour, man, we packed them out. So we can have conversations, high-level conversations, and it should be the norm. And then I see people mad at me for doing that. I said, how y'all mad? Because I'm having high-level conversations in the culture, when every single weekend, every single day, somebody is entertaining and distracting your same people, taking their money, right? I went through cities where I didn't even make $1, and I'm giving money back to people. You feel me? But I don't need to disclose my financial situation, because that's not what I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for the passion, right? I'm doing it for the impact. Well, people start counting your pockets. Oh, man, he just came and took money from the people and left. No, I actually gave money to the people and left. You know what I'm saying? And all my peoples got paid. I'm the last one. But the benefit is understanding the long term. Long term, we're showing you a different archetype of what's possible, right? I'm putting people on those stages, right? Introducing them to my audience. You know what I'm saying? I'm letting people tour with me to where they building up their platforms. I ain't asking them for a penny. Now they helping another 100,000 people. It's the ripple effect of impact that I'm in it for. It's a legacy play. Everybody can't see that, can't understand that. I don't claim to be some perfect saint, man. You feel me? I'm a man that travels with light and darkness. You feel me? Because it's needed in this world, because we got day and night.
You know what? I want to, one of the things I want to give people, I want to give them the finances. And I got a few quotes from you, which I thought were like, they just hit, they resonated. So I want to read one of them out. You said, like my brother talks about, we have financial trauma. It stops us from thinking long term.
Yeah.
But when we can break from those financial traumas and we can educate ourselves, poverty ain't nothing. Poverty is a state of mind. It's a lack of mental resources. Wealth starts in the mind.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Our people are pissed. Poverty-induced stress disorder. When you grow up in an environment of poverty, you have a higher increased chances of stress and trauma. And then because you have this stress and trauma, right, it's not like you can go to the healthcare provider, or, you can get some assistance because you can't afford it. So now you're doubling your stress, right? We end up becoming sicker, right? And we have all of these issues and problems, and it becomes this cycle of poverty. Our poverty is stressing us and keeping us more in poverty, because now we're trying to self-medicate, right? Just taking away from our ability to be focused and get out of it. So we pissed. Poverty-induced stress disorder. So again, it goes back to that environment. Best thing you can do in the hood is, man, go to a park. Take off. I don't care how crazy you look. You a gangster, you a street nigga, man. You a thug. You is what you claim to be, man. You shouldn't worry about how people perceive you. You should be gangster enough to handle this. And all I'm saying is go to the park, take your shoes off. You know what I'm saying? And ground. Get that stress off you. Then go back and think from a clear place. Man, go to the beach. Go next to the water. Get you sun, man. Let your melanin be electrified and charge your battery up. Because in this environment, right, they keeping you in a negative state, right? And when you negative, that's all you can do is produce negativity, right? All you can do is produce toxicity. So now you can't think from a financial standpoint, because when you're in survival mode, this is how much you see. I only see this much, right? I need to see where I need to eat, who's in front of me, what's going on, right? I'm in survival mode. But then once you get out of it, you can see the world. You see bigger and bigger and bigger. But you only need to think for the next day or the next week or the next month. So all your decisions, right, are in that frame. I'm making only day-to-day decisions or week-to-week decisions. When you start financial planning, you're making quarterly decisions, right? You're making decisions for your next 5 years, next 10 years. So it changes what you're doing now, right? Because eventually you're going to have to live that out. So if you look at what you have today, right, it's based off what you did yesterday, based off what you did last year, right? Based off what you did 2 years ago. But if you don't do anything today for your future, eventually your past, right, catches up, or eventually your future becomes your present. And now you're like, damn, I ain't got nothing. Well, you ain't did nothing. So being able to get the focus is what we need in the streets the most. Some focus. The opportunities are there. Opportunities exist because the technology exists. So Marcus Garvey created STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics. Unfortunately, the culture is just built off the arts. We ain't got the STEAM. So the schooling programs took the STEAM, right, and they created STEM, right? So our goal now is to get back the STEAM. We need the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as a part of the culture. So I'm having conversations surrounding the STEAM, not just the A, not just the arts. You feel me? The arts is the way we do things. The arts is our poetic license of how we're going to, get that science and technology engineer, how we're going to design and develop ourselves, right? And build the infrastructure and things of that nature of the worlds that we have a vision for. One of my things I say, we got to decolonize the future. Because if I ask you right now, how much wealth will Black people have in 2053?
You want like an exact number?
Whatever's in your mind. What's the truth that you really think, though? Like, where you think we headed to?
See, my answer's a bit interesting, though, because I'm from the UK originally.
Well, I'm talking about Black people. Let's say in America.
In America?
You've been out here. You see how we be moving.
Yeah, I'm not going to it's like tough out here. I'm not going to lie. And even coming from like a UK perspective, it's different out here in a way that isn't positive, unfortunately.
Right.
But I will say, though, that some of the conversations that I hear now, I can see it's evolving and there's growth that's happening, but there's still a lot of distraction. And I feel that personally as well.
So, I didn't hear an exact answer, but it sounded very negative. The news is going to tell you 0%. They're going to say, we headed to 0% by 2053, and they're going to say 20 years later, our brown brothers are going to have 0% wealth too. And if you look at the chart, right, the people who have the most wealth in this country are who?
Well, as like a group, like in
As
totality?
A group,
yeah. I think if you just look at the total numbers, it's white people. I've actually heard like Asians and like that.
Asians. White people put themselves in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? As if they're the standard. They're not. Asian people, then Jewish, then white, then Black. Right? So, but they always get us to compare white and Black. So I mentioned Bacon's Revolution earlier. Bacon's Revolution was a time when Black and white people had clicked together to go against the system. Because the system where this higher class 1% that was controlling everything. When no money, when no jobs in the streets, when no opportunities. And they like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? This was before there was a term called white people. So they clicking up because they say, you a farmer, I'm a farmer, you poor, I'm poor. You feel me? How about we go against them? Because they making these goddamn laws and they taking all of the money and they railroading us. And they like, bro, bet, let's link up. So they link up. They going against the system. The system say, wait a minute. Is them Negroes and crackers together? Oh no, we got to shut this down. Hey, all of y'all, I need to let y'all know, you over here, hey, farmer, you poor man over here, At first they was all different type of things, all different type of Europeans, you know what I'm saying? Italians and Scandinavians, and separated by these different ethnic groups. I need to let y'all know, y'all are white people, right? And all the white people, you feel me? We got some money for you. We get you some loans and some jobs. Just relax on this revolutionary shit. As long as you understand that, y'all are white people, we're gonna give you some privilege. And then the white people like, you know what? It was nice knowing you, man, but they got a check for me. I'm out of this. You feel me? And then it created the racists as far as, you know, they're seeing themselves as white people and they seeing blacks as inferior, so they believe that we deserved it. So this is how they justified it in their minds. Well, I'm a white man and I'm, you know, physically and intellectually superior. You a black man, so that's why you down there. But it makes sense now that I'm getting the opportunity because I'm a white man and this should be my privilege. So then you started, what they tried to figure out is how many different ways that we can cause division amongst the people, right? So we need political groups, we need different races, we need different social classes, orders, structures, as many different things as we can think of, so that they never have conversations about linking up. They never have the real conversation and see things for what they are. That's the only fear the elite have, is that you walk out there in those streets and somebody that's poor like you, right? Or somebody that grew up and that's in the same class, they say, bro, how about we challenge the system? We don't like the way things are. The people have forgotten their power 100%. You feel me? So the Bacon Revolution was a time where the people versus the system, right? Now those people have been ciphered into that system. They got the illusion of inclusion, right? In reality, they still, right, are in the lower class, and most of the wealth of the world is up at the 1%. They're living with hundreds of millions of dollars, wealth that you can't even fathom. And you about to go make $34,000 and 67, 34,067 per year. And you fighting over whether you a Democrat and Republican. Don't make no sense. But if you was the boss, it would make sense for you to do that. I don't want y'all to cause no union. Man, don't you know that black dude, he gonna steal your white girl, man. You better watch out for him. Wait a minute, he's trying to steal my girl. Now they can't have conversations about starting a union and getting more benefits at the job. So now they not even taking care of their family. They fighting a war against each other. It's always just been a game where the people at the top keeping the people at the bottom divided. That's the entire game. Constitutionally, when people have two bad choices for a president, the option is to revolt. But that conversation is nowhere because the people are more divided than ever. We call it the United States of America, but it's the divided states of America. And so we keep us constantly distracted. We don't focus, so we're not on our finances, right? And this is the beauty of the revolution, if you could call it as today, is that there's a movement of economic and financial literacy, right? Financial literacy, you are learning about finances. You are becoming literate and proficient in your understanding, right, of the system and how things work. And economic literacy, you understand how things affect you and your place in this world, right, economically. So once we start understanding finances and economics and law, we become a much more powerful people because then we understand how America works. We have to understand law. We have to understand finances, right? You pair that with having an identity as far as a knowledge of self so that you have a projection of what you want the future to be, not what you was told, not some statistics, none of that. You have your own vision for everything. This is where science is going. This is where technology is going. This is where the field of engineering is going. This is where AI is going. This is where relationships are going. Because guess what? The Asians and the Jews, what they do better than everybody else, the whites, the blacks? Family. Family. They do it very well. And family is the place to start. It's their institution. So how you keep them divided more? Let's give them music that divides the family. As long as they keep shaking their ass and they just distracted and they saying, fuck these niggas and that's my baby daddy instead of her husband or instead of her man, right? and don't have respect in the household, and the children don't see them, and it's just all these divided statistics and these narratives of black fathers not being in the household, and we just gonna make sure that their attitude towards each other is programmed to be divisive and toxic. And we allow them to control our media and then wonder why we have this reality. We got nothing but blackface media everywhere. And it's the most disrespectful thing on the planet Earth. So if you want to really change that system, when we talk finances, we talking people getting into cryptocurrencies or, investing into the stock market or entrepreneurism, right? Or, starting their own media, whatever it is. If you don't have a family vehicle to where that becomes generational, it's starting over anyway, right? So the family dynamic, like Jay-Z said, my family getting with your family, getting with this family. You feel me? That means that your daughter married my son, right? So now we are passing on the wealth, right? So now when I pass, my son get my wealth, your daughter get your wealth, right? They become wealthy. Now they marry somebody else's family we deem worthy. Now the wealth is being passed. Now there's power because you also represented the industry. Those are two industry titans coming together. That makes sense. That's the science that we missing. So we got all the magic in the world. Man, we so magical. The X-Men were made off of us. You know what I'm saying? Literally. It was made off our powers. But we ain't got the science. Blade, Marvel owes, Wesley Snipes for coming out with Blade because he used all his magic to power that industry up to where now they got these billion-dollar movies. But he didn't own Marvel. Michael Jackson tried to, and he was unalived. So we moving backwards like we moonwalking. You know what I'm talking about? Couldn't help myself with that one.
Yeah. As I listen to you, it's clear, like, almost like the formula for success, and this is such at the basic, at the foundational level, is having a clear vision, having that clarity of thought, and then avoiding distraction. And the distraction comes from everywhere.
Everywhere.
And that's what makes it so difficult. And so the last thing that I wanted to speak about, when it comes to relationships, and especially with men, for women, there was a quote that you said that I also wanted to mention.
Talk to me.
You said, a man without a vision does not need a woman.
Ooh.
First, he needs a vision.
Ooh. Man, that quote was inspired by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, one of the greatest teachers to walk this earth. If you don't have vision, you blind. It's that simple. If you don't have vision, you blind, right? You have a mental myopia, which means you can't see that far. If you have a myopia in the eyes, you can't see that far. Most people have mental glaucoma, right? It's something in their vision. They can't see that far. What you need a woman for? You ain't got nowhere you can guide her to. She holding you and guiding you because you blind. She's your walker. Most of these women out here, you know what I mean? They got to be the walking stick for the men. Tell them where to go, right? It's a lot of homosexuals out here. You know what I'm saying? So the goal, as a man, is to be great. Every man wants to be great. I'm talking about real men. And a man is his mind, right? So you can tell the caliber of man based on his mind, what his mind produces, how he handles his mind, how he controls his mind, right? That's a man. So if you don't have a vision in your mind and you're infertile, because it's like, men talk about a woman, women are infertile, you can't have my babies, you ain't got no future. Well, if you ain't got no fertile mind, you don't have what they call fecundity. Fecundity is when your little swimmers is working, they moving. But it's also fecundity of the mind when you have ideas. So you talk to him and he ain't got no ideas, his mind is dull, it don't shine. How he gonna give birth to anything? And a woman is a nurturer. So if he ain't got them little vision babies, how she gonna help raise them? You know what I'm saying? Why she wanna have your future for? Why would she take your seed, right? Into what future? So as a man, when you develop a vision and you have to go through experiences sometime and you have to allow the inspiration to come to you. As creatives, we need time to think. See, they say creatives are not people who just start. Creatives are people who take their time. Because if you just start, you're reacting. Yo, somebody say, yeah, let's do, I don't build a clothing company. They're like, all right, I'm about to get started. Well, no, creatives would be like, wait, let me get the inspiration. Just sitting there, waiting for God to give them the inspiration, or they go about moving and they wait till they see something and it hits them. I got it. This is it. And then they operate and they get excited, and that excitement turns into passion, and then that turns into drive, and then they execute. And they feel good along the journey of executing the development because they had that vision that spiked, right? So now they have to live that out, right, in order to be fulfilled. So they're going to keep working until that vision is done. And you have to have a vision that's big enough to where you need help. And then that's where the woman comes in. Babe, like, you know, my OG Uncle Nadar, man, rest in peace. You know, he used to always tell me, man, y'all, you just be trying to fuck these women, man. And instead, man, you could be building with them. He said, think about all the women that you've been with, how much they could have actually helped you, all the skills and gifts that they have. You know what I'm saying? You trying to get her to bust it wide open. You could have been busting them gifts open. You feel me? You could have, he had showed me all the checks that he had from, he like, man, I had a sister helping me with this contract for the city because she had the gifts for the paperwork and doing the emailing and going to these different things. He said, I ain't having sex with her. No, the most stimulating thing is what we producing together. So that changed my mindset, you know, as far as, you know, thinking about how powerful these relations that we have and how much more could come out of them, right? But unfortunately, it ain't that much coming. So for me, when I think about relationships, it's just thinking about purpose and intent. You know, like we can really, like black women out here really are beautifully killing it. I was at the WNBA game to like boo Clayton Clark. I just felt like I'm supposed to. I ain't got no problem with that, sister. No, it was fun. The sisters was killing it out there, man. WNBA, they play rough and tough. You feel me? They was smacking her down and stuff. It wasn't that bad though. But anyway, I ain't gonna lie. It's a lot of sidebar. It's a lot of fake outrage about the WNBA right now. But they need that. You feel me? So the women can get paid properly. But you know, when I think about like the way black women out here killing it, yeah, I mean the Flaw J's out here, the Angela Rees out here, huh? Ain't I always say Angela. Always want to say Angela. The Angel
Angel.
Reese, the Angel Reese out here. You feel me? They out here killing it, man. And I think it's beautiful to see so many black women succeed, right? And them being able to accomplish. And I don't want us to take it for granted the fact that they still want to be in their feminine, right? In order for them to be in their feminine, we have to be in our masculine, right? I mean, we got to be moving in proper position. Like if they out here working out and strong and muscular, man, you gotta step off like you 300. You feel me? You gotta be walking around here cock diesel like 19 keys. I'm gonna use myself as an example because I've been working out, you know. So I'm just saying, like they reaching these calibers, you know, and getting up to these heights. And I know that there's a lot of gender wars out there, and you know, there's a lot of messed up mindsets on both sides of the spectrum in society that's not push manhood, you know, and it pushes the psychology of a man to think more like a woman and a woman to think more like a man, while at the same time not celebrating manhood nor womanhood, right? So you have a lot of confusion going on in the world. So I know why society is so messed up out there, because people are not playing into their natural, right, roles of full development. So we confuse our money and our titles and influence and platforms for being a man or a woman, and that's not it, right? That's not who you are. Strip you down naked in front of each other, bare your souls. Those are real people. Oh, I got a car, I got clothes, I got this, I did this, I did this, I did this. I don't care.
Mm,
That ain't what raising the children. That ain't who you sleeping with. That ain't gonna bring you peace.
mm,
You feel me? That ain't what's gonna really take care of a person.
mm,
You feel me? So when we come together, we have to remember that these unions is really about these souls connecting, right? And these souls adding value to each other. You feel me? And being interlinked. Not this titles coming together. If you want to make it about business, okay, so let it be. But when you got children that come in the world where there's logic to it, like this is wealth for us. Like think about a marriage. Brother Nuri said it the best. We spend so much money on the marriage, on the wedding, but not on the marriage. Right? You planning the hell out that wedding. You know what I'm saying? But what about the marriage? What about the intent? Are we getting married because our parents wants us to? Our African parents? You must get married. What are you doing? Where are my grandbabies? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I know the Asians and the Japanese people, they be having that pressure too. You know what I'm saying? But like when those souls meet and then later on 50% of them, 80% for the black community, somewhere like 75, 80, disconnect later on, that's more destructive for them babies that you just brought in this volatile situation, right? So I think that we need to focus more on what can we do for each other, not just how we make each other feel, right? Like, all right, when we get together, what can we really build? Here's my gifts, here's my skills. This is what I want to do in life. This is what you want to do in life. How can we build this beautiful life together, right? And we focus on that planning phase more about like, this is our future, this is how we can help each other. And we really sit down and we communicate that. Now you're going into this marriage with a job. Now you're going into this marriage with vision. You feel me? But everybody's getting married because of love, right? Where's the vision? Love will not sustain a marriage, right? If that was enough, then people wouldn't be getting divorced because of financial issues, which is the top reason for it. So we got to make sure that our visions are compatible. So I think that changes the way that we go about each other and the way we see each other. And it's not just, oh, I got feelings for you, give me butterflies. You feel me? You make me feel good. That's all gonna happen. I'm a man. I'm supposed to be attracted to women. You a woman. You're supposed to be attracted to men. That's natural. You know what I'm saying? And you can't help who you stay in love with. Yeah, people say you can't help who you fall in love with. I don't believe that either. They say love is love. I don't believe that because that's like saying one is one. Okay. What does it mean? There's no meaning in it. People just throw out these slogans, even though Terrence Howard said 1 + 1 = 3. We can talk about that later. You know what I'm saying? But what does love is love even mean? Nothing. All you did was repeat the same thing twice. But we say it as if we said something profound. And then we build our whole life around these meaningless, quotes. And it's like, bro, come up with your own thing. You don't even know who came up with that. I think Facebook came up with that.
Yeah.
And you over there talking about, well, love is love. No, love is stupid if it don't have purpose. Because love literally makes you stupid. It'll make you stupid.
Here's where I want to end. You spoke about vision. I just think it's just like a key theme of the whole conversation is vision, having that vision. And earlier in the conversation, you kind of explained that moment where you kind of really had that vision for your life. And you share the story of, you're speaking with your older brother and that moment where he makes the choice that he didn't want to be a leader. And I was observing you even as you were speaking about it, and I could almost feel like you were still in that moment. Like I could still feel the impact of it to you. And so obviously you made a very different decision. You made a different choice. Is that you want to be a leader, and we've discussed all the stuff that's happened with that and what's been associated with that, the difficulties, the triumphs, everything. And I'm curious how you reflect on it today. It's Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Like, how do you think about that decision now? You've been going on that path for a little while.
I was naive as hell. Sheesh. I think you know what I enjoy about myself the most are my imperfections, right? Because that's where I have the most growth at. That's where I have the most to learn. I love learning. So it's like, it's not that, it's that word means something different to everybody. You know, people don't like when you say you're a leader. They say everybody else supposed to say you're a leader. I get that. I think you're supposed to say it first. I think you're supposed to say you great first. People don't acknowledge black men. We got the worst statistics in all America. People don't even acknowledge it. There ain't no cancer marches for black men.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You see it be cancer, it be women cancer month. Where the men at? All this cancer, we got the highest rates. The gun violence, the prison, to suicide, right? All of these issues. So as black men, we have to speak up for ourselves and we have to say things ourselves. So as I learn about my imperfections, I go on that journey of growth and, you know, shadow integration. All of that is where I lead the most, which is developing myself, going deeper in myself. That's the true leadership to me. You know what I mean? It's not, hey, you do this, that, and the third. Like, no. And I say that because a person will call you influencer or influential, but every leader, right, is an influencer because you have to be influential in order to be a leader. You have to motivate and inspire to be a leader, right? You have to be able to communicate vision to be a leader. So to me, we have a program inside High Level Club. We work with high level people where they want to be better communicators. They want to be better leaders. You want to learn the proper handling of people, which is a whole entire protocol, handbook, how to deal with people in different situations. And I consider good influence, good leadership. If you got all the attention in the world, would it make a good impact?
Mhm.
You had all the money in the world, would you make a good impact? Right? So if you have good influence, because there's a lot of influencers, they just don't have good influence. It's distractive influence. It's negative. You feel me? Because negative, it takes away. So you taking away from my focus, you negative. So politicians go pay the influencers, companies go pay the influencers, brands will go pay the influencers, not for good influence, they don't care about that, just for the attention. I need to get in your attention because this attention is an economy because you can influence what people buy, right? So therefore, I'm making money. You are a funnel. So when I think about people that I want to help build up their personal brand, be a better leader, right? I'm thinking about only people who I believe will make a good impact, who has good influence. That's the Good Influence program.
19 keys, man. Jabril Mohammed.
Yes,
Appreciate you
sir.
coming on the show, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's really a dream for me that I get to do this. It's surreal that this is what I do full time and every week. So if you enjoy the content, if you enjoyed the conversation, the stories, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us immeasurably with growing the channel, with getting guests, all of those things. So please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you next time.